Hello everyone, my name is EVOO. It's great to see you and welcome to Cooking with the Coias. Today folks, we are going to keep the Italian tradition going. We're going to make a pasta dish that goes back many years. In fact, it's my mother's favorite. She would have eaten it a lot growing up in the 1930s, and she calls it Piangiok, which is a dialect. It's a very dialect for pezzole. And pezzole means like a piece. So these are like little pieces, almost like little quilted squares, 3-inch and 4-inch squares of pasta. And they go back many years because it comes from what you call Cucina Povera, the poor man's kitchen, because the ingredients are very simple, and that's how they would have made it many years ago. Now, if you go to a restaurant, it might be called toccanelle. Toccanelle is another way to explain it. But certainly if you say Piangiok, the only people who are going to know it are from probably my mother's hometown in Pagentro, or where she used to eat it all the time at my aunt's house in Sant Eufemia, both in Abruzzo, tucked up in the mountains. It's a great recipe. Let's get started right now. So today I'm cooking for 4 people. So I have here 300 grams of 00 flour, 100 grams of Semola flour, which is basically semolina that's been ground finer. Sometimes you'll see it as rimaginata, which means reground. So 100 grams of Semola flour. And then as far as salt goes, 1 teaspoon of salt. It's a 1/4 teaspoon for every 100 grams. And we're going to mix that together. Now in this particular recipe, again, going back to the days, this is not an egg noodle pasta because eggs were hard to come by. So this particular pasta dish only uses water, and it's delicious. So speaking of water, 2-to-1 ratio, for total of 400 grams of flour, we're going to add 200 grams of warm water. You want it warm to get that gluten network going. And we're also going to add 2 teaspoons of extra virgin olive oil. So basically it's a 1/2 teaspoon for every 100 grams. So 2 teaspoons extra virgin olive oil. That's it for ingredients, folks. Now, we're going to mix this all together, and we're going to knead this into a dough. We're going to mix it to incorporate, and then we're going to continue to knead it probably for about 10 minutes till it's nice, smooth, and consistent dough. So in the beginning, it's going to seem quite dry, but don't worry, you just keep working it, and everything will pick up quite nicely. So in fact, we're going to remove it from the bowl. So this was my grandmother's sister's recipe. She used to make this all the time. And I would like to say, back in the day, they would have just used, for example, in this case, 400 grams of just white flour. But the flour back then was stronger and different. So to make up for that, I have added that 25% Semola flour, which is going to make it stronger. So I want to replicate what my aunt made back in the day in Sant Eufemia. So I'm going to just keep working this. I'm going to pick up all this flour. Okay, I'm going to pick it all up. And once I've got it picked up, I'm going to start kneading it. Okay, there we go. Basically, we've got it all picked up. But right now, we have a very rough dough. So that's why we need to knead it. So we're going to knead this dough, basically just with the palm of your hand, just push down. Oops, lost a piece. Just push down, use the weight of your body. It doesn't have to be hard to do, very easy. And just keep working it all the way around. I'm going to do this for 5-10 minutes until it becomes nice and smooth. Okay, so it's been 5 minutes and it's actually pretty good. The dough is much nicer. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes. And that is now a very nice dough. Nice and smooth, beautiful. So now what we have to do, we have to let it sit. Minimum 15 minutes, but 30 minutes is really what you're looking for. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it in plastic and we're gonna let it rest for 30 minutes, ideally. That's gonna relax the gluten network because now that we've kneaded it, the gluten network is going and it'll allow us to roll this dough out nicely and it won't be springy. And it also allows the flour to pick up all that water, so the hydration is gonna be much better as well. So in order to work with this dough, let's let it sit and rest. Like I say, minimum 15, preferably 30 minutes. Okay, so it's been just over half hour and look at this beautiful dough. It's been resting very nicely. Okay, and it is now ready to be cut and rolled. Now my aunt would have used a rolling pin, of course, but today I'm going to use my pasta machine. So let's cut a slice off of this. Look at that. I just love making pasta dough. Okay. All right, I digress. All right, so on the largest notch, we're going to run it through. And then if you want to get it thicker, just fold the dough over onto itself, right? And pass it through again. And if you want to get it more square, because it's rounded there, just fold it back over again and pass it through again. There we go. And now I can go one notch thinner, one notch thinner. Again, keep working our way down. And one more. I'm going to go second from the last. And then if we want, I could patch it through one more time on that same setting. There we go. So I'm not going to the last because that would be a little bit too thin, but I went second to the last. Okay, there we go. So now I know what my aunt would have used is just a knife. She would have cut with a knife. Actually, she probably would have made a number of these and stacked them, but I'm not going to do that. We could cut them using this to add a little bit of texture, but she would have done just this. That's it. And bingo. There's our squares. Right? There's one there, and all I'm going to do is put these squares into a bowl with some semolina flour and toss them up just so they don't stick together. And then I'll just place them aside and let them rest while I make more. And that's basically them. That's a different shape, and you want those different shapes because it shows that they're homemade, right? That one's actually nice and relatively square. Okay, so I am going to continue that process. Let me finish doing all of this dough. Go back to the front, and we'll come right back at you once I'm done. And we're down to our last piece, and I have to tell you, this dough, it just feels so nice in the hand. When you make your own pasta, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's just got a great feel to it. Okay, you can see there I've been working away, and it hasn't taken that long. It's relatively easy to do. Let me get this last one going. And again, not on the last notch, I'm going second to last. Oh, I don't want you to fold over. Second to last notch, there we go. Now, if I want to clean that up, I can. I could fold that to get rid of that semicircle. I'm being picky here now, right? Go back a notch or two, and then crank it through. Crank it again, and you get rid of that little semicircle, and there you go. So same thing. Now, how big? Can I make them smaller, or 4 real big ones, or I'll make 6 smaller ones instead. Okay, there we go. All right, let's get these coated in the semolina, and look at this beautiful tray here, and we're gonna make our way over to the stove. Okay, and here's our beautiful pezzole, also known as Piangiok, and we have the classic Italian sauce. This is my classic, with the meatballs and a little bit of lamb. If you want the recipe, I'll put it in the description for you. But we're going to take these meatballs out and the sauce out while this begins to cook. So let's get this into the pot. I've already added salt to the pot, to the boiling water. Okay, nice pot of boiling water. salted water. Bring that up to high, and let's put our Piangiok in. And because we put the semolina flour on, they're not sticking at all. Okay, let's get them all in there. I don't want to put them all in at once. I'd rather kind of stage them in there. Okay. Well, a couple almost stuck, not really. All right, get them in there. Slide them in. Okay, now these won't take that long to cook. It's thin homemade pasta. There's no filling or nothing like that. There's no egg. So they're going to cook relatively quickly, probably just a few minutes. And what'll happen is when they all come to the surface and float, that's when we want to give it another minute or two. We'll taste it too, right? Once it tastes cooked, then we'll know to turn the stove off and drain our water. So for right now, it's all in there. We got to bring this water back up to a boil. So I'll give it a little stir. There we go. All right, let's bring it back up to a boil. Meanwhile, I'm going to double task here. We're going to take these beautiful homemade meatballs. If you want the recipe, I'll put that in the description for you. And then, of course, we got some rapini going there. I can put that recipe in the description for you. I just did that video not that long ago. Beautiful rapini. That looks like it's starting to boil. So let's get our sauce ready, because we're going to want to layer that into our serving dish and add our tomato sauce. Okay, I think that was all I used was 6. And then some pieces of lamb, some pepper, not black pepper, that's a fresh pepper, a bell pepper. That one happened to be yellow. Okay, that's done. You've got to give the rapini a stir because it's wilted down. Oh yeah, it's time to give that a stir. That beautiful olive oil in there, and garlic. Get that all coated in that beautiful olive oil. Yeah, we're boiling here now, and take this lid off. How's that for multitasking? Look at that, nice color on that rapini, thanks to the extra virgin olive oil. All right, that'll continue to cook. And my other spoon here, let's take a peek. Let's take a peek and see how our pasta's doing. So it's looks like most of it's floated. Gonna give it another, maybe I'll just try it. I wasn't paying attention, folks, so. I'm gonna say another 15 to 30 seconds, and that's it. Okay, and then we can layer it into our serving dish. Alrighty, that can go off, and let's take some out. We want to drain that water, strain it good. I want it less watery if possible. And then from there, we can go into our serving dish. Okay, spread that around just a bit. Oh, there was one in there. Get that in there. A little bit of our, look at this beautiful sauce. I'm gonna layer it. I should have put some sauce in on the bottom to begin with. I forgot. Okay, let's continue to strain this pasta and continue layering that serving dish. There we go. Let's layer this again. Beautiful. Oh, I'm excited to dig into this, folks. Okay. Some are folded over, that's quite all right. And a layer of sauce, and let's keep building this beautiful pasta dish. That's looking good. Keep layering this pasta dish. Beautiful. Just a few more to go, folks. Yes, folks, the taste test. Take a look at that. It's no wonder it's one of my mother's favorite dishes. Beautiful. All right, time to dig in. So, I could use a fork. So let's get one of these squares. Okay, here's a smaller one. Whoops. There's a smaller one. Put a little bit of sauce back on there. And I've got some Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. There we go. There we have it. A nice little sample size right there. I'm gonna fold that over, get all that sauce and that cheese, and I'm going in. Mmm. Mmm. What a beautiful chew. The texture, it's soft, it's silky, it's tasty. That, folks, is really, really good. Coupled with that beautiful sauce, this is absolutely delicious. You're talking traditional, rustic. I don't want to say ancient, but it's definitely older. It's a poor man's pasta, right? Flour and water. Mmm. Absolutely fantastic. You need to give this traditional recipe a try. Take yourself back to the day, make it, and enjoy La Povera Cucina, the poor man's kitchen. It may be poor man's kitchen, but it's not poor in flavor. This is delicious. I want to thank you for spending time in the kitchen with me on today's episode of Cooking with the Coias. And as always, folks, until next time, buon appetito. Really, really good. We're going to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. Delicious.